Good morning. It is D-Day, believe it or not. It is June 6th. So years and years and years ago. And I know I look like I have enough gray hair that I might have been there. I wasn't. Men and women far braver than myself stormed the beaches of Normandy. It is D-Day today. So for you and your business, it might be that too, because it is 90 days out now from September 4th. So today, your decision-making process as you stare at your phone and talk to your cat could be, do I want to have money for Labor Day weekend or do I not want to have money for Labor Day weekend? So today's conversations could be Labor Day weekend closings. So we will be inviting you to what happens just after this. I have Loban Frizzell. We're going to talk to Loban about her entire KW experience and something that's near and dear to her heart, her relationship with the commercial community. And at 9 o'clock, we go into Fight Club. There is no violence yet. Join us for Fight Club. In the month of April, I was just looking at the stats. In the month of April, agents who engaged in Fight Club set 21 appointments. I just looked for the month of May. 24 appointments were created. Never mind the conversation nurtures, the referrals, and the leads that happen. So join us for that. It's cameras on, microphones off, everyone making calls because we're designated agents and nobody wants to listen to each other talk. And nobody wants to be overheard because of designated agency. But the ability to look up at the screen and realize that other people are doing the same damn thing. And I think the initial impression is if I go today, are people going to be on there throwing up and crying, Loban? No. You're going to look up and see people smiling because they're talking to people they know and love and trust and reminding them that they're alive and they're here to help. So join us for Fight Club. That's 9 to 11 today at KWFightClub.com. At 11 o'clock, we do a little bit of a post game, talk about our victories, talk about our opportunities for growth, and then you get on with the rest of your day. The crux of this on Tuesdays and Thursdays, if you're doing that damn thing, then you won't be freaking out on September 4th because you may create a kitchen table in the next couple of days. It'll be a closing table in the next 90 days. After that, later this afternoon, if you're I was going to say designated agent, if you're a dual career agent, so if you have a couple of jobs, very important, you never tell the other broker, your client, or anybody in America that you're part-time. Nobody who's going to do a 6 to 7 figure deal with you is like, oh, she's only at this about 20 minutes a day. Bad news. Don't say that out loud. We don't want to give that ammunition to the civilians. We are dual career agents. If you are a dual career agent and you don't have the time to get to the stuff about the thing during the day because you're somewhere else, join us at 6 o'clock. Our regional productivity coach, Tiffany Hampton, does evening group coaching at 6 p.m. The link is in the morning news. And we are here with Loban Frizzell. So you called me just last week and you're like, we got to talk about some stuff. And when the opening salvo from Loban is that, like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I do want to walk it back a little bit. And for anyone who hasn't yet met the great Loban Frizzell, sort of get us from, and you can skip a little bit because I know I'm about to say this and you're going to punch me through the internet. Get us from like high school graduation-ish to this conversation. Like get us to how we were fortunate enough to get into business with you.
So I was at another brokerage.
You can say all the brokerages. It's fine. They exist.
And they told me I couldn't do commercial.
Huh.
And I said, well, okay, I'm leaving. And interviewed a bunch of different companies and got Jeff as my recruiter, sort of, and signed the dotted line. And I love the philosophy of the culture of all of it, you know, family, finances, faith. Like it just rang at a time that I really needed all those things in my life. It rang really true and I couldn't be happier.
So we joked before we came on the air, we were joking about our first conversation. We were in what is the Meredith building. We were in the training room. You and I were probably having our first conversation, and you said probably one of the funniest things I've ever heard out of an agent's mouth in our first engagement. We were going over numbers, doing some goal setting, and you sort of turn and you just like shut everything, and you're like, and I'm like, what? And you're like, Timmy, polo's expensive. And I knew I knew that you were into horses. You know, your one of your brands along the way was Beaches to Barns and all that kind of stuff. So that's been a big part of your life. Talk to me about what your mindset was when you said that to me and where your head was and your feelings about setting goals and you know, things that are inspirational and aspirational for you and how you draw that correlation.
Oh, I think I might be stuck.
No, you're good. We can hear you. You'll be okay. That's fine.
Okay. So that was like about 8 years ago. At that time, recently divorced, 2 kids heading into college,
Mm.
and a passion for horses. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to do anything I want to do the way I want to do it again.
Mm.
And so I think it was an MREA planning thing that
Business
we were
planning. Yeah,
doing.
sure.
Yeah. And so then you encouraged me to do Bold.
And we're still
And
friends.
we're still friends. I've never been the same ever since Bold.
Good.
But between doing those two things, I was able to pay for both of my kids in cash to go to college, able to buy the truck and trailer that were on my Bold list,
Yeah.
letter to myself, and still keep my horses.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it really is given. I mean, the market certainly helped me a lot through the process, but you know, laying out what you need to do for yourself so that it's not about the money for me, it's about security. And so money gives you security.
Sure.
And when you're secure, you're much more effective. So as I followed the plan that, KW lays out for you, you can achieve just about anything you want at any way you want to do it.
Yeah. Well, so for Bold, let's go back and pick that scab. So for Bold, in the grand scheme of things, for you, what was your initial, like if you can remember your feelings before lunch at step one? What was your thought? Were you looking for the fire alarm? Were you looking for the nearest exit?
No, I asked to leave the class. They said this is what they expect from you, and I'm driving from Sandwich, New Hampshire, down to Portsmouth for Bold, for just to lay it all out there.
Yeah.
And I just looked up at that and I said, like, you can keep my money, but how do I get out of the door? And they asked for 100 contacts, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to achieve it. And then the room full of people, like 4 people stood up and said, I'll make 25 extra calls, or, I will help you. And I mean, I pretty much cried the first day of Bold. I actually cried all the way through Bold.
Did it ever turn to blissful tears?
Yeah, I had like 8 or 10 closings, like right after Bold. Like, it was all worth it, but it wasn't just about the business. It was about looking at yourself. And sometimes that's really hard to do.
I appreciate that you said that, because I would argue from my experience as an agent, being in the room as the coach, I would argue for me, it's 51% life, 49% business, because of you do the future self conversation, right? Logan,
Yep.
You're walking along, you see a figure sitting on a bench, you walk up and it's you, a year from now. What questions do you have? What advice does your future self have for your present self and all that, there's so many. I think whether it's out of sheer terror, raw emotion, or bliss, I don't think too many people, certainly people do because of the wiring, most people end up crying at some point. Right. But that's also the safety of the room, because everybody's going through that shared experience,
So Melissa Lesniak was in the room, and like, if Melissa, like, she's gorgeous and driven, and she's just a powerhouse, right? Mm-hmm. And like,
yes.
I remember sitting, and she had done Bold. She was so sophisticated with like her language. And I remember looking at her and I was like, I want to be Melissa Lesniak, like, in so many ways.
I want to be Melissa when I grow up. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought to myself, like, I'm just going to watch how this woman she pretty much was my role model all the way through Bold. I didn't drink nearly as much water as her, but I tried to do everything else the way she did it.
Well, if that was during one of the windows when she was doing bodybuilding and stage competitions, yeah, she was cut. It was water, oxygen, water, and sleep. That was pretty much the recipe for Melissa. And she does, to give her much credit, she's probably heading into, I trust, Bold is coming to New Hampshire. We are going to partner with our friends at Metropolitan over in Bedford. My prayer is the location ends up at the Puritan back room, because then we have chicken fingers and real estate. So I'm going to get T-shirts made that say chicken listing's good. And in the grand scheme of things, when we partner with them, I trust that she will probably head in that direction and do it again. That might be her 24th bold. So you have to ask yourself, with Lesniak as a solo practitioner, she has operational support solo practitioner, helping 60 to 75 families a year. What's the secret sauce? And I can tell you she's had MAPS coaches. She stays engaged with us at the market center. And then when Bold comes to town, she goes and she's willing to go and sit in that room and I say yelled at, but challenged to do even more. And that's really what that room does. Your experience of would you say 8 to 10 deals?
Yeah, right. Coming right out of Bold,
Sure.
Coming right into KW, that produced, that was the catalyst for me. And that was started to become, I've been in and out of real estate my whole life, but never like at Keller Williams, just never the same kind of model.
The national average for Bold is like 11 transactions during the time that you're in Bold. Creates 11, and which is good news for us because our average-ish to get to capping status based on our average numbers, commission side, and your average volume at our market center, it's about 10-ish deals to get to capping status. So it's fast-track capping, too, if somebody's thinking about should they do it.
I think they should do it. I don't know if I could do it again. I'm going to be really honest.
You're still in recovery?
It's a lot. And like I said, it's not just about looking at your business. You have to get honest with yourself. We're all realtors in different ways. Like, I'm not going to be a Melissa Lesniak, but I can admire her. But I need to be satisfied with where I'm at, like my home life status, like all of that. You don't work your ass off not to be able to ride a horse if that's what your goal setting is for.
Yeah, let's talk about that. She does, and as well as you, a lot of our top producers do a pretty good job. And you, I think when you're watching anything on social media and you're seeing TED Talks and stuff, you hear and it's a misconception, or I guess the misnomer of saying work-life balance. That's actually not a thing. It's work-life counterbalance, because we're constantly counterbalancing. And we'll do this next Tuesday when we do Quantum Leap here in Portsmouth. I'll have everybody stand up. And you stand on whatever leg you're comfortable with, I think if you're a righty, you think back to your kickball days in middle school. If you're a righty, I think you would stand on your left leg, maybe not. But when you stand on that one leg, are you balanced or are you balancing? Like, there's no such thing as perfect balance. We're balancing. So in that mindset, her and Darlene go on a cruise as often as they can. And I know you, to the best of your ability, you want time with your short people, who are now tall people. You want time with your horses. How do you make all of that happen and still sustain the business that you have?
Well, I had to rewrite my narrative to myself about answering the phone. I don't feel like I have to answer the phone as soon as it rings every time. And I had to learn how to teach my clients how to treat me. Like, if it's emergency status, text me if it's after 5. Beyond that, we can deal with it the next morning, right?
Yep.
But I was one of those people that really believed, I got to pick up the phone now. I got to pick up the phone now. And then I just started feeling like an Amazon product, and that's when I said, all right, I try not to work Sundays. If my daughter has a horse show on Saturday, I'll work a Sunday. And I have personal days in my calendar already plugged in for the year.
Great MAPS coach, Matt Fedek, wrote, had a book called Play Big, and he came and taught the class around it. And this is in my freshman year, and I heard him say, in real estate, nobody dies. Right. And Bold Law, as you remember, Bold Law, we teach people how to treat us. So if you're grabbing the horn at 8:45 when somebody calls, now you've set the precedent that you're available at 8:45. And life hack, too. You have an iPhone. Yes, Loban?
So I'm terrible with the iPhone, so it doesn't super help me. I
stay with me.
Biggest...
You're going to love this. You're going to love this. They announced yesterday Apple has their new iOS coming out for the iPhone. Will be here in September when the new iPhone hits. So iOS 17, when your iPhone rings and it goes to voicemail, you're going to be able to read a transcript in real time of what they're leaving for a voicemail. So
Okay.
now if you wanted, if you see that it is pressing, you can pick up mid-call. How amazing is that?
That's pretty amazing. I don't, my hack in life is get up before everybody else.
Yes.
That's my, I get up at like 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Yep.
I do all my stuff on the computer that I need to do. And then by 9 o'clock, I'm done with all that. I can start making calls. And then I'm out the door probably by 10:15 to do whatever I've set up.
Mm-hmm.
I check my emails at 3 o'clock and make the last bit of my phone calls and schedule for the next day. And then I'm done. This is one of the best careers you can have if you want to enjoy like being able to go to soccer games or cutting out early. Like no other job could you do any of that.
Right. And I love that you brought the fact that you get up so early. Often referred to as the millionaire's hour, you know, and certainly for most people, I think it's viewed as that 5 a.m. hour because nobody's looking for you at 5 a.m. Most of America is still asleep at 5 a.m., right? And they're getting up at 6 to get through the shower and get to their 9 to 5 or whatever. So if you steal that early time for yourself, two things happen. Nobody's going to hijack that from you. And above and beyond that, you gave yourself that time. I talk about this all the time. Father Fay, in college 1,000 years ago, said to us, he's like, boys, if you don't take one day off, you'll take every day off. And that has stuck with me because if we don't give ourselves an hour a day for us, we will be looking to gain that time back throughout, you know, and it's the same as if somebody knocks on my door and they think it's a red badge of courage. They're like, hey, Timmy, guess what? I haven't had a vacation since 1938. That's just stupid. Right? That was a choice that they made, right? So making sure that we do steal that time in the morning for prayer, for deep knee bends, yoga, reading, staring at a tree, talking to your cat, but giving you yourself time because nobody's going to try to look for you at that point. And then conversely, as you said, after 5 o'clock, shut your phone off.
Right.
Shut your
That
phone off.
early morning is like really key to me because it allows me to think uninterrupted, which doesn't happen the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Right. So if I've driven by a property and I've like, I was like, oh, I need to figure out what that property is and who owns it. Like that's my minute to go in and deep dive into the town records or,
Sure.
you know, whatever, Onyx Hunt and find the owner.
So you had talked about the fact that you stepped away from your last brokerage because one of the unfortunate conversations you had with them is that you couldn't do commercial. And this is something that's near and dear to your heart, and we wanted to have this conversation today. So talk to me about that. I'm an agent. I just landed, or I've been here a couple of years. I've got my state license, and I haven't tripped over anything that requires me to be involved as a commercial agent. But I'm curious about it. Or I got my arms around a possible deal that's going to involve commercial. How do I move into that conversation, and making sure that I'm doing all the things in the right order? Because this is constantly a conversation we're having at the market center, just about doing things appropriately and you know, without fail, legally as well. You know, and making sure that we're staying inside the guidelines. So talk to me about that.
So our office, if you are practicing commercial, the requirement really is that you are a member of NECPE, which is CYBOR. That's where our forms come from. But first and foremost, like, you know, there's different types of commercial, right? There's commercial deals that there may be a vacant building on a commercial lot, or it involves a business with numbers. So for me, the reason I like commercial is I have started and sold about 8 businesses in my life. And I always thought I didn't like numbers. As a kid, I was not a mathematician, but as I got older, I started to like numbers more and more, and they meant more to me than they
Sure.
did when I was young.
Yeah, when they're connected to
So-
your bank account and your taxes, they're very important. Very important.
Right. You know, and in commercial, you do a lot of fun things that you can't really do with English. Like you can do a projection per forma based on like, you know, vacancy rates. Like you get to, it's almost like science without the, you know, mixing.
Yeah.
So when you come across, and like all of us have people in our sphere that own a business or own commercial property. So whether you want to practice it or not, there are conversations that you can be having. And the reality is, if you've never done a commercial transaction, there are people you can partner up with at Keller Williams. I think one of the things that hits agents sideways is when they approach a commercial agent and the commercial agent says, you can give me a 25% referral, or I can help you along the process, but you're going to end up paying me more. I think that's hard for people to digest because they're like, wait, my lead, these are my people. All you're doing is handing me the paperwork. And that's not what's happening.
Correct.
So, learning how to do commercial appropriately and correctly is probably like one of the bigger concerns. I think anyone is capable, if they have a passion for it, to do commercial.
Yeah.
But when you come in, you want to make sure, whether you're a buyer working with buyers or sellers, that your clients have somebody that is knowledgeable enough that they're getting the service that they desire and need. And you want your reputation intact when the whole thing's done. Sometimes you'll see agents reach out to grab commercial because there's not enough residential in their area. And there's not a lot wrong with that if you're getting the support you need. The one thing that people always think is there's a lot of money in commercial, and there's a lot of money in lakefront in New Hampshire. There's the money.
As we discovered last week, congratulations to Steph. Yes.
Yes, right. So if you're looking for the higher dollar and that's what you're super concerned about, I would say go towards luxury and lakes. Commercial doesn't always necessarily mean it's going to be a high value. It could mean that you would be working with a client for 10 years and never actually either sell or buy for them. And I would say about only 40% of what I have commercially closes in a time frame that pays me appropriately.
Yeah, great point. So to use some of the language that you'll hear around the market center, and just to clear this up, because we'll say, and Nathan will say this, like he doesn't want any of our agents practicing resi-commercial. And the reason for that, and people will just like, well, wait a minute though, but there's commercial agents that sell residential. Yes, because they have the licenses for both. They have the ability to do both. Now, what you'll see is there is that. There are agents who will refer their residential off to a residential agent because they are strictly commercial. And then just to use a golf analogy, because why not? This is the way I try to explain it best, and correct me if I'm wrong. When somebody says, well, but I want to do this, I appreciate that. And you can't just hand them the paperwork for commercial. That's completely out of bounds. And that would be tantamount to one of our agents handing a civilian the paperwork, because
right.
they don't have the right to that. And if you're thinking, well, but I'm an agent. Yes, you are a golfer, yet you don't have a membership to that country club. And in order to play at that club, you have to be invited by a member. And then you work with that member, or you hand it off. And one of the coolest things, I will never forget this, when I had a friend who was like, hey, I want to do some investment stuff. And they were looking at bigger than 4 doors. And when it goes 8+, that's defined as commercial. We should be stepping away if we don't choose to engage in cyber and doing all that, and hand it to somebody who's going to treat our people great. Because when the Joneses ask Tim Lindsay for help and I send them to Loban and they have a great experience with Loban, they love Loban and they love me because I was the source of the source, as the great Jason Westcott will say.
Right.
If I lead them on a treacherous ride of death as I try to navigate commercial illegally, it's probably not going to go well for anybody. And if you do catch a fine, Gary's not behind you with his checkbook, Nathan's not behind you with his checkbook. It's all incumbent upon you to get yourself out of jail. And I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just making sure people understand. I was blown away. I sent some friends who were investors. They bought 4 things, Loban, over the course of 2 years. And a lot of our commercial agents will give you referrals incessantly. And I had no idea about that. Didn't even have a conversation after the first deal. They were just playing by the
Right.
rules. And a lot of our commercial agents do a lifetime referral, which is amazing. Which is another reason, if you have no idea what you're doing or you don't want to engage in commercial or become that commercial student, why it's just great that we have many resources here that you can talk to, like Loban. Rant
We
over.
have about 37 commercial agents that are going through the process. So there are, there's any CPE membership, which anyone practicing commercial has to be a part of. We also have a platform called KW Commercial. So if you wanted to get started, joining KW Commercial gives you a platform for education that you wouldn't necessarily get. I believe that Cyborg is going to be doing some more education this year, but Real Next, the new platform with KW Commercial, allows you to take class by class instruction. That does, I think it runs like $200 a month. It gets you like the KW logo, and it gives you a couple of resources out there to engage with other agents like nationally. So, I mean, there's opportunities to like become a better commercial agent if that's something you want to go to. And I'm encouraging people, if that's a passion, if you're a business person and selling pink sinks doesn't really appeal to you, there's something more out there.
Is that why you moved on? You're like, I'm done with the mob vanities. I'm out. I gotta go.
I will tell you that I do resimercial because I live in a very small populated area. So the density for me would not be I couldn't live on just commercial in the density.
Sure.
And I have to go back to the fact that not everything closes, not every buyer or seller, like commercial deals, when I take a listing, I take it for 2 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. You have a lot more time into it. It's a lot different. I mean, navigating through the time is what's different. Like, you can't just go, I'm 90 days and done with these people. 90 days and done.
Right.
Right. So those are things that I think are important for everybody to recognize. Like, I invite people that have a passion for it. Like, we're going to do a couple of mixers at the Market Center. I think we're going to do one in Wolfboro in September and one in Portsmouth. We're inviting all agents who want to meet other commercial agents to come and talk and see if they can make a connection. If you don't have any interest and you just want to have some drinks, like, you can come.
And a great referral partner. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up to the thought process behind, and you referenced even luxury. Using my bakery analogy, right? If we got fat kids that need bear claws, we got to make bear claws. Go get the listings for the humans, right? And if you have a glass case, the munchkins could be the condos and the wedding cakes could be the luxury properties. And our teams that do a lot of luxury will tell you those bring great conversations, although they bring fewer great conversations. So then you put some pixie dust on.
You need less of those, though. Let's be honest. You need less conversations if you're at that price point.
Well, no, I appreciate that. But at the same time, the frequency of people in that market is less, right? So then you put pixie dust on that, and that's what commercial is. Like, you can have a waiting period while you're selling luxury. You will have a gestation period while you're waiting for commercial. So you do want the boulders and the gravel and the sand in all your conversations. So if you have other stuff, and if you are going to make the move over to commercial or even luxury into one of those niches, you should be continuing to work on your skills and your efficiencies, with your residential, not just like jump out of the plane and be like, well, I'm not going to do anything except for commercial right now, because that could be a long wait. Long wait. But I appreciate it, Loban. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. If you have questions about commercial, you can certainly reach out to Loban Frizzell. Loban, what's your phone that you won't answer after 5? What is that number?
603-662-4095. And I will always answer it for an agent.
I appreciate that. That's awesome. If you guys have questions for me, it's 603-834-2856. You want to book my face, it is meetwithcoach.com. And I'll see you in mere seconds over at KWFightClub.com. Thank you, Loban. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, hon.